Hello and welcome.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Laurentiu Amitroaie. I'm Chief Innovation Officer in Minded, and I'm here with Theo, which is our Data and AI Director. And we are happy to host this webinar about modern AI in banking. Uh, why why modern AI? Because modern AI is changing the way businesses are run today. Modern AI means basically what AI became since introduction of generative AI. It has a deep impact in our society, in businesses, and it's something of interest within a lot of industries, including in banking. Um, we work with a lot of banks quite often, and we work with different departments from banks, from HR, legal, procurement, customer support. Uh, and quite often we are asked, what can be the impact of modern AI banking? We are rolling out use cases. Everybody is asking, what's going on? What's the best way of implementing new things? What others are doing? And because we saw this need, which is coming from different areas, we decided that this year we want to publish a report about the state of modern AI in banking, in which we are talking about the state of generative AI, so where the technology is. We are handpicking representative use cases from corporate or retail banking, and we discuss how we can be successful in it. And we try to put our know-how into this report, but come with information which is out there, aggregated in a single report that you can reference. Actually, Theo, can you share a little bit more about the report and about the content?
Sure. Thank you, Laurentiu. And yes, we're very excited to be launching this report soon. So the release date right now is next week, a week from now. And we want to highlight in this report that 2026 is really a major shift in the industry in banking and the influence of AI in banking. And we're going to present the modern AI landscape, the way we see it today, how it applies like overall in multiple industries, and then how it's applicable to the banking industry. We're going to examine our handpicked 65 case studies from leading institutions throughout the world, including European banks. And yeah, we're gonna walk you through some interesting case studies using this we think powerful tool. Hopefully, you'll have this at your disposal from now on. And then we'll also look at some frameworks and that you can use to actually start and what are the rules to get you to succeed in your roadmaps going forward.
And just to continue, the scope of this webinar is just to give you a little bit of a glimpse about of the type of information that you will find in the report. So, stay tuned, just check out the kind of information that we are sharing. All that will be extended within a report.
Yeah.
Uh, it will be like 100 and plus pages already.
Oh yeah, it's pretty long, but we cannot take anything out of it. It seems like everything belongs right there. We both worked on it, so we're very excited to. And who is this for? It's for really like also has some technical aspects, like CTOs will be excited to see, but it's really also for executives like CIOs, CFOs, CEOs, and so on. So there are really interesting takes for everyone in there. All
Okay.
right, let's get started. So, Laurentiu, take us on a walk down memory lane, please.
Okay, let's start it a little bit. It's as we said, I think it's banks are coming on board in deploying generative AI, and really very interesting use cases that we are seeing there. Big impact in banks when you start to apply it. So it's really great. We believe that we are on the brink of the next productivity leap in regards to banking. I think over history there were like five major productivity leaps that happened. You had the core banking systems introduction in the 60s in the US. Basically, it was a centralized database that was connecting branches. At that moment, manual ledgers were replaced by centralized databases. That was very important. Interactions and contracts were done much faster. this is how, let's say, technology started to enter banking. Then we had in the 70s another productivity leap, which was introduction of ATMs. Basically, it opened up, or it offered clients the ability to do operations, get money, basically at the beginning, um, outside of the normal operation hours of the banks.
Not
Then
having to stand in line, right?
not having to stand in line, not having to wait for the teller and stuff like that. Yeah. And a major part of transactions at that point were cash transactions. Yeah. Then we had in the 70s introduction of electronic transfers. Basically, if you had like core banking system which was connecting branches within a bank, in the 70s you started to have banks interconnected. Uh, again, uh, it was much easier for businesses to operate and to work with each other. Then we had in the 80s a big, let's say, automation improvement, which was spreadsheets. I think currently a lot of businesses and a lot of operations in the banks are still relying on a lot of spreadsheets and processes. Um, yeah, we implement AI use cases which are automating spreadsheets if you want to, understand where we are right now. So I think
Excel
it,
is not going away, right?
it seems Excel is not going away. Um, it's a good tool, had a big impact. A lot of things happened in there. It will still be used. Yeah, whether you will have an AI which is helping you in spreadsheets, is producing data and so on. I think it will still be around. I'm surprised. I'm actually thinking for how many years to come we'll have that. Then we had in the 90s the online, and later in 2000 we had the mobile banking. Again, basically allowing customers to interact anytime and from anywhere with the bank. And the online platform became a means to sell new kind of products and stuff like that. So those were the, let's say, the five big productivity leaps that we identified in the past and which are recognized by the industry. Currently, with generative AI, we are entering the next stage. Yeah, I don't think there is a lot of people are talking about, how that will impact. I don't think it's a clear view on how this will happen. Um, there are estimations that for $1 that is currently invested in AI, it will generate $5 return in the global economy. In the same time, there are discussions that we are, living in an AI speculative bubble. What we believe is that what generative AI can bring, can really have an impact on how businesses are running. And I think we are at at the early stages when this transformation is happening. Yeah. And basically, generative AI, large language model, large reasoning models, things which happened within the last, okay, publicly starting 2022, but things are happening from the last 10 years in the generative space or even more. Those will have a big impact on the industry. And yeah, let's try to understand a little bit what is generative AI and how this one maps with traditional machine learning, because AI is not a new thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been there for quite a while, and now everybody's when they say AI, they actually mean generative AI, right? It's the new kid on the block. It's the hottest topic right now. But AI doesn't mean just Gen AI. The AI has been here for a long time, and it has many other aspects, right? It all comes with, let's say, the different layers, as you see here in this picture. You have generative AI, which is part of the overall bigger area, which is called deep learning, which has been here for quite some time now, and it's responsible for many innovations in the world of machine learning and artificial intelligence. Then you have machine learning, which is, let's say, a bigger bubble, and then you have AI. So you have these systems, especially since the machine learning era and deep learning era, systems that can learn based on structured data in more traditionally, and they predict within a, let's say, fixed set of possibilities. You train a model on input data and you predict outputs on unseen data. This is what you probably heard of: supervised, unsupervised, or semi-supervised, and reinforcement learning. And deep learning uses artificial neural networks to process more complex patterns. You probably also heard about computer vision models, which, by the way, are really a big deal. You all probably have security cameras detecting not only movement, but also when people or pets come into the area. I have mine at home. They detect when there's a pet, and they know they're not supposed to send me a notification, but when there's a person entering a particular area, they send me. So these things have been there for quite some while. But generative AI, you probably heard about ChatGPT, but it's been there for quite some time, even before the great grandfather, which was the bidirectional encoder transformer models from Google. That's how it all started, actually. So these use artificial neural networks and can process both labeled and unlabeled data. So this is, yeah, the new kid on the block, and it's a very hot topic today. And we'll be talking about this going forward. But just wanted to point out the fact that there's a big family over there, over here in the AI space, and it's still relevant even today. There are edge cases where traditional machine learning models might be even more cost effective than solving the problem with Gen AI and many other use cases. So yeah, we can discuss about that. Okay. Uh, and this is what I want to highlight here, for instance. Still, traditional machine learning has its points. You have historical data. I want to predict patterns and trends, like time series forecasting. You might as well go with a traditional machine learning model. You train it, you fine tune it, and then you use it. Uh, it it's very good at probabilities, risk scores, for instance, in banking, and overall trends prediction. However, generative AI is better at new variations of data, creating variations of data. That's actually the generative part of the AI uh, space. And it's good about content, generating reasoning plans, understanding and synthesizing information. It's good at solving creativity problems, and it's actually very good at creating highly realistic outputs. And you have seen this in, probably you cannot know today if an email was written by AI or a person, or it's really hard to tell what is written by AI and what is not these days. And not only text, you have probably seen multimodal models like the Geminis, the Nano Bananas, and so on, generating highly realistic photographs or even videos. So really, things have come really, really close to realistic outputs. And you can see there are also some limitations, right? Both in the traditional ML and generative AI space, right? Gen AI is highly prone to the risk of hallucinations, for instance. So we need constant checks. We need a way to keep generative AI explainable. That's another term called explainable AI, which is probably, I mean, for sure, very important in banking. And you also have, of course, copyright issues. Yeah.
And thanks, Theo. I think it's
All
it's
right.
very I think it's very important to understand where we are, yeah, and why currently we believe is the best moment, or we observe that is the best moment for deploying generative AI in banking. Basically, if you look back in 2022, and there was the ChatGPT moment, that's when the consumers were exposed to the generative AI. What happened at that moment, only in 2 years, the consumer adoption had reached 39%. If you put this in perspective, it took internet to reach this percentage 5 years, yeah, and it took personal computers 12 years. So it really exploded. It exploded because I think at the beginning it was not really something useful for the consumer. It was something interesting, and then it became very useful for the consumer as well. Yeah. And but usually what happened, there's a delay in the adoption curve in for enterprise. customers versus consumers. We believe now we are in the stage in which enterprises are adopting it more and more. And why it's happening that? Because several problems were addressed. Yeah. For once, you have the inference cost, which basically within the past 18 months, it got reduced like 280 times. Yeah? And this is because there was a lot of investment done by the big companies within data centers. So there's a decrease in inference cost. This means that actually you can use large language models for doing things, yeah, and having relatively cheap, yeah, depending on how the complex are the use cases. Um, you have companies like Microsoft or Google, they are investing in data centers, and a lot of them are claiming uh, because of the need of inference. So there's a big expectation in usage of those large language models. Um, what we've observed starting from 2023, so in 2023 there were like 149 counted foundation models released. Yeah, then 2024 and 2025 exploded in the number of adoption of new models that were released. 66% of those models were open source. We saw with other use cases, and we saw banks actually deploying um, open source or models, yeah, on their tenants. Yeah, it's the entire,
Spreading like wildfire, right?
the entire technology is quite evolving. Another important thing which is it's happening, it's the regulation part. Um, for example, in August 2025, we have the EU AI Adoption Act, yeah, and other kind of things which allow actually banks uh, go faster, yeah. So it's a very regulated space, but currently
Mhm.
banks, it seems they have the right regulation, they have the right framework to deploy that
Yeah.
at the right cost, yeah.
And the report has many of these interesting numbers and case studies available. So
Relating
yeah.
to the case studies and why some banks choose like an open source model versus a model deployed in the cloud, yeah, and stuff
Hmm.
like that. Yeah, let's go a little bit. Let's understand a little bit as well with the technology. What was the technology evolution? So we
Yeah.
had 2022 model. This was the when the ChatGPT was released. Basically, uh, we had large language models from starting
Hmm.
2017 when Google released the Transformers architecture, but this is when they become more or less
Mainstream, let's call
mainstream.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it
and
was just question answer, right? At that time.
exactly. It was only question answer. Basically, you have the large language model, which is producing the next token. Then the next iteration was the connecting some knowledge bases. Those are the RAG systems.
Yeah.
Basically,
Otherwise, you would be stuck with a cutoff date, right?
yeah, you cut off date, but then you have the large language model, which is using information from the external databases, put them in context, and they give you a proper answer. Then the next stage was introduction of tools or actions which are happening in external systems. And where we are now, um, fast forward, we have okay, multimodal models. They know how to process text, audio, video, information from different IoT and sensors, input that is coming from humans, that is coming from other agents. You have reasoning models, yeah, which are used to complement, the solution with
Mhm.
the cognition part. You have
To stop
skills,
and think before
stop and think, yeah, before,
responding, right?
yeah. So you have the reasoning, you have memory, short-term memories, long-term memories, which allows you to do complex systems, allows you to deploy agents which can, execute an operation over a long period of times. Again, tools, basically the impact in a bank will be that you can open up your existing system, connect the existing system to a reasoning agent which can help you orchestrate those platforms. And of course, human, interact with other agents, interact with humans. So it's an environment that evolved a lot, and a lot of let's say options are available there just to decide the right solution for addressing a specific problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're we're right here, and this is really transforming, especially the user experience and customer experience. So there are many trends, and probably you've heard of these keywords. So there are large language models and large reasoning models, like Lawrence you mentioned earlier. Then you have the multimodal AIs, like processing video and audio streams as well. You have probably heard of prompt engineering. Now the hottest topic is context engineering, really making sure that the model has the right context for it to reason and provide you with the right output. And then you have the model context protocols, the agent skills, the agent-to-agent frameworks, or different frameworks that have appeared over time that are taking over and really expanding what's possible, right? With AI, generative AI, and with agentic AI. So imagine agents working in a network together and communicating. This is the agent-to-agent protocol, agent skills, which enhance the agent's capabilities with specific skills that apply to your domain or your particular bank. And model context protocol, which exposes and make it seamless and easy to integrate with different systems, external systems. So, and also imagine, just picture generating UI. UI, as we know it, will change. UI will be probably generated on the fly, and we have seen examples. Uh, UI will no longer be fixed in a design pattern. It will adapt to whatever the user needs. And looking under the hood of this, Laurentiu, probably give a few examples. Yeah.
Within a banking environment, you are used with workflow engines, RPAs, uh, applications platform which are executing a predefined flow. Yeah, different steps which has to happen, different gates and stuff like that.
Rule-based engines,
Yeah.
especially, right?
Yeah, if you are talking about deploying agents basically in a very simplified way, there are two ways in which you can do that. One is the agentic loops, is the part in which you have the agent that is taking the input, it's generating, it's thinking about it, it's taking some actions, whether it's gathering some information from other systems or doing some actions in external system, it's observing uh, what's going on, both the information, what happens with orchestrated systems, it's interacting with the user, and then it's continually doing this loop until a result is met. Yeah.
Until it satisfies conditions set when it began, right?
Yeah. So you have the agent which works on its own more or less. Yeah. Whether it's doing some actions, interactions, and stuff like that. But then you have another thing which is agentic workflows, which basically one thing with the agent is doing, it's building up on workflow. Yeah. And then you can have, if and especially in banks is very important, you can still have the human in the loop, and it's addressing a problem of deploying, AI at scale within the organization. You can still have the humans which are validating it, or you can have other agents which are judges of the workflows that are generated by agents. So basically, you can have a control of what is going on, and you can have a step-by-step approach in implementing agents and transforming uh, some, workflows which are very much, controlled, yeah, in
Mhm.
deploying them on an environment which kind of come with a little bit of uncontrolled things which can be, not properly controlled. And
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
agentic workflows, I think we have an example how that will work.
Yeah, exactly. So now that we had a look at under the hood, imagine how this plays out in the real life. And right now, you're probably using, systems or ChatGPTs, Claude, Geminis, or whatever, and you imagine it's just a question and answer kind of pattern, but it's really you ask a question, and behind the scenes, right now the task gets decomposed into sub steps that it can carry out individually. It can delegate to other sub-agents or remote agents, or it can even provide humans with feedback, and people can decide if they proceed or not, or make certain decisions. This is the human in the loop that Laurentiu was mentioning earlier. So there's a lot of things going on right now before providing the final response or taking the right action, because right now it's not only about response, it's also about action, right? Things get done. It's no longer about just asking a question and getting an answer. And this is another example.
Yeah, it's basically augmented the existing workforce, which is in a bank with assistants and agents, which they can orchestrate the same platforms that a regular employee can have access to, and doing things, much accelerating the work,
Yeah.
basically.
Imagine how this plays out in a bank, right? Look at the credit manager role. Look at how they used to work, right, in the past. Manual orchestration and execution, having interview with customers, reviewing documents, preparing, offering drafts. Maybe they used some traditional, machine learning models in the past to predict, to provide credit scoring for but you had to manually input all of that data. Imagine now how things have changed. You might have AI co-pilots reviewing inputs. You might have an initial screening with a customer that's conducted by the AI co-pilot. Um, you might have you might have input like visual input from inspecting the actual grounds where the let's say you want to buy a piece of land or a piece of property. You might have already a screening in place without having to send someone over by analyzing the images. You might present the credit offer to the customer. Again, it can be conducted via Copilot, and you have on the right hand side many of the subtasks get it to agents and get orchestrated. That's not to say the human is cut out of this equation, but it's about human and machine working together. Not everything is automated. I like to call this human in the loop, the AI sandwich, right? So the person might start the proceedings, AI might take over, and at the end, it's still the human who sees the input from the AI and discusses with the customer and makes the final call. You have other examples in other industries,
Right.
or other examples like the HR screening is one example, which might, yeah,
Yeah.
Laurentiu knows about.
So, for example, there are different departments that we work with in banking. So we work with, for example, on HR, like screening people, using AI to screen people before the actual interview happens. So you have there's somebody which is submitting a CV. The system automatically checks whether there's a match between that person and the job position. It sends a link where it's inviting to have an interview with an AI. The AI actually runs a 15-20 minutes dynamic interview, is doing scoring on the fly about that person. You can even detect whether that person is using AI to respond and stuff like that, and then you can actually improve on that area. Or for example, we work with companies from US for automating search title opinions from searching information in all kinds of other systems, making sense of all those documentation and providing a title opinion over those legal acts, and this actually improves the responses that the banks can have to their customers, yeah, and in the end can increase the business.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, yeah, let's
Right.
jump. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Let's have a look at maybe
Right.
why some of these initiatives fail. Right.
Well, basically, it was very a surprising fact with MIT released end of last year. Yeah, they had some statistics in which they monitor that 95% of Gen AI projects are failing, which basically comes from the hype expectations and from the lacking of understanding how you can actually integrate a Gen AI solution within the existing processes. Yeah, so it's a combination that we see of hype and a misunderstanding of where basically you can hook in the generative AI within the process. Yeah, it's not like a big system that will solve all your problem and will do things automatically. Yeah. Um, yeah, and while compiling the report, Theo, what you observe in the banks that were successful in deploying
Yeah.
AI
Good.
solutions?
Good call. So we observed, to really have success, to be successful in deploying and adopting AI within your company and moving from pilots to production grade AI, three key things we found are critical. So there's strategy. You need a clear ambition. You need a roadmap. You need and we know from experience that you will probably have many use cases identified within your company, but identify which ones have the greatest impact, and you need a way to prioritize them. This is where we've devised a thing called the AI innovation funnel, which helps you funnel all of your use cases in and really trickle it down to the ones that have the biggest ROI. Then you have organizing, right? You need to drive adoption, and driving adoption means having the right people, the right champions within your company, and the right processes in place. And usually this comes using a top-down approach. And I was reading an article the other day that mentioned the Shopify CEO writing code on GitHub and trying out, well, doing vibe coding and trying out AI tools on his own. And it really comes from the top. Like CEOs now need to be AI literate, and if they are AI literate, then all the other people in the company will for sure be as well.
It would be interesting to see a CEO of a bank, vibe coding and deploying an application. We know how regulated that environment is, and I think that's a yeah.
Really, but what I have seen so far, really, I don't see this as science fiction anymore. Really,
Yeah, I'm
like
looking
what it
forward
can.
to that.
Yeah. And technology, of course, right? There's an abundance of technology these days. Hard to pick the winning formula, but there's also, the big tech companies are there for you. They have all sorts of, seamlessly integrated systems available for you to quickly build agents and agentic workflows. But there's also open source models and frameworks that you can create in your own infrastructure if there's any concern in privacies, if you need to adhere to certain compliance, either EU compliance or internal banking regulations and so on. So yeah, these
Yeah,
are kind of the
with,
things.
with a proper infrastructure and control in place, it might become, reality soon. So I can imagine if you have like a good, AI layer on top of your data and on top of your systems and a good observability, tracing, and evaluation in place, you can have, business users that are vibe coding their own business applications. I think that's where the industry will go. Yeah, basically using AI orchestrating, building up tools for the
For
department.
sure. In all of these areas that we see here in the map, right? There's so many areas.
Yeah, this is just like an intro. We are covering two areas. One is the retail banking in our report, and the other one is corporate banking. On the retail banking, we've gathered 47 success stories, so real use cases deployed. We are looking at them from different perspectives, technical and business impact. Um, we are looking from four different big areas: front office, middle office, back office, and corporate and IT functions. I shared a little bit about our own experience within HR and legal part, or mm, mm, but there are a lot of use cases in our report.
For
Uh,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe you can just share a little bit.
Yeah, we highlighted, let's say, three use cases, but you can find 44 more in the report. So, for instance, there's a Swedish fintech company, Klarna, which within 1 month of launching their Gen AI customer service platform, they were handling already two-thirds of all customer chats. This resulted, they made the calculation 40 million in annual profit improvement. That's equivalent to 700 FTEs, full-time employees. So imagine if a fintech company can do this for 150 million users in weeks, imagine what a traditional bank with a higher customer base can do, right? Bank of America has the Erica Pioneer launched in 2018, even before ChatGPT, and in 7 years they processed 3 billion interactions with 50 million users. So the lesson here is that AI at scale takes sustained investment and it compounds over the years, not quarters. EU banks like Anon achieved 98% cost reduction in document processing, from $5 to just 10 cents per document. Processing time dropped from 30 minutes to 30 seconds. This is a CFO-friendly ROI that any bank can replicate really with the likes of the modern tech today.
And one of the reasons that we put those use cases together is just to have like a reference point, yeah, to understand, what's the
What's
kind of,
possible?
yeah,
Yeah.
what's the kind of impact that you should expect in your business on different areas. What's the kind of budget that you want to invest? What's the technologies that they've opted in? I think it's very important for an industry that is it's transforming right now, just to have reference points, and we start to have reference points out there. So I think it's very important for us to use them. Um, we've done the same approach for corporate banking. We picked up 18 use cases from corporate banking. Some of them are similar from retail, like you have like regular rack systems, but for different reasons. Yeah, Theo, can you share a little bit about for some
Yeah.
examples?
Yeah, we selected three of these case studies, but we have 15 more in the report. So stay tuned. On the corporate side, so we have one European bank, let's say two American giants. JP Morgan's coin system saved 360,000 legal hours annually. So that's 180 full-time lawyers. That's huge. And the key is that they didn't fire anyone, right? They redirected expertise from document review to complex advisory work. So this resulted in 80% fewer errors, 12,000 documents processed in seconds. So this is kind of the gold standard for legal AI. We also have internally, we're working with some of our customers in the legal industry. We have Deutsche Bank proves that EU regulation isn't really a barrier, right? It's a framework that we need to work on. They migrated 260 applications to the Google Cloud. They achieved 97% accuracy and trained 6,000 employees in AI. And they're a cloud first, enable AI first. And Goldman Sachs deployed AI to 10,000 employees with plans to expand to all of their staff. And the message is augment, not replace. And they started a phased rollout to learn with the 10,000 employees and then scale. And the core capabilities that they want to enhance is email, code, queries, and proofreading. And these aren't just pilots, right? They're production systems processing billions of interactions, saving hundreds of thousands of hours, and delivering really tangible ROIs. So the question isn't whether to adopt AI, it's, how can you do it fast enough? And this is how is one of the
It's how,
frameworks.
and
Yeah.
as well within the report, we are touching a little bit about how you can be successful in implementing modern AI. There are different phases in the adoption and within operating mm, let's say an AI powered organization. There both you have the management which play an important role, yeah, from defining the goal, the North Star, uh, identifying the use cases, engaging with different departments in coming up with use cases and understanding how AI can actually have a real impact within the business, but it has to be, it has to have the management support to facilitate that. Then you have the technology, which is very important, the foundations. It's based on what you are deploying. It's a very special environment usually within banks, and the IT plays a crucial role. Yeah, they need to understand, what's the vision where we want to go and enable that within the organization. Yeah. So basically, the top management together with IT, they should be able to create a safe space for the organization to deploy AI projects. Yeah. And when I mean safe space, it's both in terms of what AI and how we can control it, but as well what's the impact in the regular jobs that the people have and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's all about both management and technology creating this safe space, and of course have the people, processes, and internal policies aligned to that. But more about the framework and this kind of information within the report. And just to close it up, a quick wrap up. Theo.
Yeah, we have 65 real world case studies for you in the report. Really excited about releasing this. So, yeah, stay tuned. It's coming out soon, 1 week from now. We have really high efficiency gains throughout the report as we I mentioned earlier when we looked at the six case studies in our examples, and really these are signals that no leader can ignore, right? We have a lot of things going on. We have a lot of banks already investing, and it's paying dividends, right? And we want to see this expanded to other banks as well. We want to see you succeed, and yeah, we're here for you. And the shift is clear, right? Banks are moving from AI pilots to actually
And
operating their business with it.
from what we see, I think we believe 2026 will basically be the year in which AI transformation will scale out throughout the banks. Yeah. Um, okay, and I think that's our um,
Yeah,
presentation. Let's see if we
hope,
have any
hope you enjoyed it, and
questions.
hope you made you curious about the
Okay,
report. But yeah, we'll be happy to take your
okay.
questions.
We have one. We have three questions actually.
Okay.
Um, One question from Matilda. If you're advising a banking leadership team today, what is one AI-related decision they should make differently in the next 6 to 12 months to avoid getting stuck in pilots? Yeah, interesting question. I think this
Mhm.
comes back to the safe space that I was talking about. Yeah, it's understanding what was the impact of AI, yeah, in the
Mhm.
organization and the kind of things, what you should expect and what should ask in a reasonable way from that, and have the right um, infrastructure.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the most important thing, yeah? Like choosing the right infrastructure on top of which you are deploying the AI use cases, the models, the large language models, they are evolving. So you need an infrastructure in which you can roll out and test up new things quite fast. You need an infrastructure where you can actually monitor and evaluate how AI is behaving. And I think that's the main point that you have to address it. And if you have that, then you can actually scale out with the rollout after that, because basically you'll be in control and you can experiment, and the people will have
Mhm.
this safe space, yeah, that I was talking about. And when I'm saying safe space, it's both, in impact in the day-to-day way of working, but technology, yeah, and what would be the results
Mhm.
that AI is doing.
For sure, infrastructure and it really pays out to have the right infrastructure in place, but it's also about having the right use cases, right? To starting with the right use cases that have the potential to be the uh, paid dividends, right? Having the right ROI, and yeah,
Yeah. We have another question from Thomas. Um, as we look towards 2026, what do you think most banks are still underestimating when it comes to adopting AI at scale? Um, Again, yeah, a very interesting question.
adoption. I think adoption, like having, and I go back to the example earlier, right? Having the CEO on board, having the real champions. I think people are underestimating how the status quo can change, especially within traditional industries like banks, right?
And yeah, and I think like a more practical answer is like, I think, and we notice it's much easier to build a, a running product with AI within that serve scope, yeah, for finance or banking, but it will take, much more to deploy it within the banking environment. And we see sometimes that this is the hardest part, yeah, to have acceptance of those things to be deployed. And that's one thing. And the second, a lot of banks, they still have legacy systems, and yeah, that's an environment that you need to operate in. But there are ways to do that. And
Yeah.
okay, and the final question, uh, looking beyond technology, what is the hardest organizational or cultural barrier banks face when they are trying to scale AI, and how have you seen successful teams overcome it? Um, hardest. Sure.
So I think it's especially in the traditional industry, highly regulated industry, it's really adhering to compliance, right? Either internal compliance or EU or regulations that come from the country or the EU. I think it's hard to keep track of all of the changes coming in and identifying the impact of all of these changes in moving fast enough and so that you can adopt AI really and scale it. So being a highly regulated industry, I think this is being compliant, right, and being on top of all of these, making sure you're not making any mistakes is and as I mentioned earlier, again, adopting AI within the company comes from the top down, and I can't stress this um, further. It really means that people from starting with the CEO need to be on board with the roadmap, and yeah, you have to have the champions within the company to steer the ship in the right direction.
Yeah.
And this is beyond tech, right? It's
Yeah.
not something that tech can solve.
Yeah, but they, as I said earlier, technology, they have to work hand with the top management just to create the proper environment to roll this out. Yeah. Don't expect for the same pilot or project to address the same issues over and over again. It has to be, thought holistically as the a framework for the entire bank on which you deploy things. Okay, I think those were the questions. Thank you, everybody. And on 12th of February, we are going to release and send out the report for the people that registered to the webinar, and we are looking forward for feedback and
Yeah, and we're
this
looking
is,
forward to you to
yeah, and
see the paper
this is a report that we are planning to regularly update it and have it use it as a reference,
as
uh,
a guidebook, right?
as a guidebook, yeah, that you can go and look. And
All right.
thank you, Theo.
Thank you, Laurentiu. And yeah, excited to see you all having the paper in your hands next week. And stay tuned for more. Thank you very much.
Thank you.